Hi, I'm Sherry Anshara, and in this world, at this time frame, I'm known as a medical intuitive. And so I've had all kinds of careers and all different avenues in my life, and I've actually had 5 near-death experiences, and I created them all. And my first one, I was 3 years old. And the reason that I created at 3 years old with a very loving family, raised by 3 teenagers, and I loved it. However, I would be very, very frustrated because I could see things that, quote, the normal person is not supposed to see or couldn't see. So at 3 years old, I'm explaining about the lights around people. So in my family, they didn't understand that. In later years, I come to know it as the aura or the electromagnetic field or the bioenergy field. So, 3 different groups have to have their own version, their own label of what it is, so that they can feel comfortable confirming that they know what it is. Isn't that fabulous?
Yes,
And
it is.
so it's ridiculous. And so one of my favorite things that I have learned, and I teach it, is what are belief systems? And so I ask everybody, what's the first letter of the word belief? B. First letter of the word system, S, and put it together. So I don't care what background it is, what ethnic background is, what age or stage, what religion, what politics. When you get down to the core, it's really not about the person. It's who are they. And I'm not doing esoteric, oh, I'm searching for myself. And I tell people, well, you can run out of the world searching for yourself, and you've got yourself. You are the self. And so through these NDEs, I had the most remarkable experiences. I have a really weird sense of humor. I've always had it. I never went down the tunnel because the tunnel to me is a recycle bin. It's this symbol called infinity. Do over, do over, do over. And I believe that Britney Spears said it in the best way. Oops, I did it again. And again and
And
again and
again,
again and again and again. And that is the repeat of duality. So if there's a war in Mesopotamia, is it any different than the war that's going on in the Middle East? Or is it any different that the war that is going on in the Middle East? Is it any different to wherever it is? Somebody just walked in. Just give it to Myrna. So, I'm sorry, somebody just walked
no
in.
worries, no worries.
It's okay. It's the little glitches in life, and that's the fun part. And so I began as this young child to analyze things. And so that first NDE was absolutely amazing. And I met spectacular people. So we could call them beings or we could call them ETs. I don't know what an extraterrestrial is. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing. We're all
Yeah, I mean,
extraterrestrials.
I think by terrestrial, it's kind of it makes you think of different planets. So people from different planets. Otherwise, you'd just
Exactly.
call them foreigners or
And
something.
sometimes I laughingly say, I think this planet is infested with humans. Now, don't
Oh
take it
yeah,
personally.
oh it certainly is. Yes, infested is a
With
good
all
word
these
for us.
different belief
Mm.
systems colliding, and my God's better than your God, my way's better than your way, and blah blah blah, because we are a composition of cellular memory. So I teach consciousness and bring out ideas. Here, I'll put a plug in. I just published another book called Take Back Your Power, You Becoming You, to explain how we operate. Instead of being worked all the time by the belief systems, we don't have to work on it. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
And so when I began to have these encounters, no, I was never abducted, I was never hurt, I was never implanted, but I was always looking for something that was an answer that made sense. So I teach wordology is your biology. So question means quest at the ion level. Quest at the cellular level. So we go on quest, Jason and the Argonauts, or Columbus, or whatever, because we're looking, but the issue is we don't know how to ask the questions. So that's why we don't get the answers. So they're in the intelligence and intellect of your body. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So So we're always searching. I'm sorry, it's an interruption. So somebody, has this idea that we have intelligence in the brain. Honestly, not to blow your audience's mind, there is no intelligence in the brain. None. Zero. Zippo. I've been doing what I've been doing for 27 years. And I have yet to see, and because I can see inside people's bodies, that's why the doctors that send the patients to me love it. There is no intelligence in the brain. It's a computer. And we've kind of discussed that. However, we're only using half of the brain. This left brain goes to the right side. So we recreate. So that's Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again. And so in the idea of the circle of lessons, karma, and reincarnation, 3 programs mean the same thing. Do over, based on a punishment program. And so we are the most fabulous creative beings that we don't know. You cannot not create. Honestly, you can't. You create from the time you get up and go to bed all night. That is what you do. So let's go biblical. Let's just go biblical. Aren't you made in God's image? Aren't you?
Yes, I suppose so.
Then why are you less?
That's right.
That's my question. If we're made in God's image, or Jesus said, I'm not getting religious here, you shall do as I do, is more, then why are we doing less? Or Buddha said, you are the Buddha. Well, then why don't we own it? Not out of ego, but being centered in self instead of self-centered.
I think that whole statement of made in God's image, I was saying with Peter on the last one, all of this sort of stuff unfortunately has been taken very literally, which means that God is a man with a big beard, and he referred him to Santa Claus. Yeah, that's generally the image people have, but I see it when they say in God's image more kind of the nature of us. So we're part of God being nature or being consciousness or being whatever, so we're all manifestations of that one thing. So essentially we are all part of that, or the totality of that expressed individually.
And so we've been told we're oneness. That's another BS program. So who's listening to this, we're not judging it. But oneness means we're all the same. We're not the same. We're unique. So what I teach is allness. So there's room for everything. Even I live in Arizona, even the scorpions. So in allness, there is a connectedness. I call connectedness. And heartness, because I teach Godness. I can't say I teach God, or people will be burning stuff on, at my office, and wouldn't be sage. So it's really the Godness, the essence of the God within you. You are creator. So let's get back. We're only using half a brain. So when somebody says to me, Sherry, I'm half out of my mind. Of course you are. And this is your crown chakra in the old 7 chakra system, which is duality. So if your crown is up your first chakra, no wonder you have back problems. It's hard walking around like that. So when I use...
Might be worth... Sorry, just briefly, it might be worth just describing for those who probably aren't familiar what the concept of duality actually is.
Okay, duality is good and bad, high and low. My God's better than your God. My way is better. It's my way or the highway, and it's right or wrong. So I could say to you, or positive or negative. That stuff drives me crazy. So guess what? I'm so positive you're negative. So is it correct for you or is it incorrect? We've made spirituality, we've made religion, we've made it way too difficult. And we say life is complicated. No, it isn't. It's not complicated because we're looking for the word because. So because means, that's your excuse, or you be the cause. I'd rather be the cause. And so duality is this right or wrong. It's this. Oops, I got to do it again. I've got to do it over until I get it right. Well, what is right? Is it correct? And people say, sure, that's a matter of semantics. No, it's not. It's a matter of resonance. So we've been taught frequency and vibration. That's a byproduct. Energy. Everybody wake up. Energy is a byproduct. If you're conscious, then you know how to utilize your energy. So through your aura, electromagnetic, it's because we've been taught that life is a reflection of us. No, it's not. It's a projection. So if I'm a jerk, now life's a reflection. Now I've got to go out to the bank or the grocery store or see a client and say, geez, they're acting like a jerk. Oh, Eureka! Buddha! I must be a jerk. Now I had to drag someone into my trauma. When I could just get up, look in the mirror and go, why would you even consider being a jerk today? So life is a projection of you.
It is. And also, as they say with the law of attraction, that kind of thing, and it seems, and karma, I suppose, is another way of putting it. It seems a very difficult thing to understand for a lot of people, and I just generally look at it as cause and effect. So if you're a jerk to somebody, what's going to happen? They're going to resent you. They're going to be a jerk back. That's the...
Okay, cause and effect is duality. In non-duality that I teach, and I live it every day, so do my clients, and whether they're successful business people or a mother or whatever it is, because I actually talk to babies in the womb and they're really incredible. So you affect the cause. Take that in, affect the cause. So through these near-death experiences, and I'm not righting them or wronging them. So my second one happened a year after I was married. So I was forced to get married, and everybody, I wasn't pregnant, because it was the time. You had to do it. I didn't want to I'm not against marriage. Yes. I work with couples, all that, but I was young. And it didn't resonate. When I was a kid, I'd say, I don't want to grow up and get married and have kids and live happily ever after.
I suppose it was expected. It was expected in the society, wasn't it?
Yes, and so wordology is your biology. So in there, it said, in sickness and health till death do you part, right? So I'm not going to commit suicide, shoot myself because I might hurt myself or poison myself. Wasn't going to do that. So in the unconscious, see, that's where I work. Psychology and psychiatry work here in the subconscious, your basement, your closet, your attic, your crawl space, or whatever. And so the body is like the house. But I work in the foundation. That's why I clear properties. That's why I can see stuff. It's not because I'm special. Everybody can do it when they get out of their belief systems. So it said in sickness and health. Now, we just had a brand new Corvette. Beautiful, fabulous Corvette. So I get hit twice. I go through a cement block wall. And I'm thinking to myself, thinky, not feeling. This is feeling in the heart. I made it out. Yay! I could start all over again. No, it didn't happen. So I go and I ruined this beautiful brand new Corvette.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God,
I can imagine.
That hurt me more.
Yeah. And for anyone in the UK that doesn't know what a Corvette is, it's an American sports car. Pretty expensive.
That's just fabulous. And this was, what some of the original ones, like way back when. But in my unconscious, I had this idea, hey, I'll just do it over again. I'll kill myself, but I'm not going to hurt myself. But that did create a shift. It did create a shift, and it put me on another path. So now I'm very successful, and so this will make your audience happy. I was actually sued for alimony. Is that cool?
I don't know what alimony is.
Alimony is the spouse has to pay the other spouse.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
And so you don't know, but usually it's the man that pays the alimony, right? But I didn't have, but there were other circumstances. So that really aggravated me. And I said, I'm out of here. And I'm not blaming the ex-husband or the ex. It was part of the journey of a script. But you can cancel the script and cancel the contract. So my idea was canceling the contract. Well, just die. I'll just die and get over with.
Try again next time. Yeah,
like whatever. So now I rebuild my life, and I'm very successful and bought a big beautiful home and whatever. And then there's a setup and a fortuitous experience. I ended up assisting some drunk lady that I was in her car. Doesn't matter. It happened in 1991. So her car went 40 feet in the air. I'm in it. I'm the only one in. It flipped over. I went 15 feet underwater, upside down the Connecticut River, and died. And I was totally out of body while this was going on as I'm watching it. And again, met incredible experience, these fabulous beings. And at this particular juncture, I met 12, and I call them the 12 wise guys. And if you know who the wise guys are, if you know anything about the mob or anything. So I call them the 12 wise guys. I told you I had a weird sense of humor. And we had great conversations. And that's when I began to get. So I would be I'm not going to go down a tunnel, because that's a recycle bin. You go down the tunnel and then you come back, whether you die and come back or whether you come back through the tunnel. And people would say, well, Sharon, when you go down the tunnel, you'll be meeting relatives. I go, look, if I go down the tunnel and those relatives don't have a job, I'm going to kick their butt. I don't want somebody waiting for me. They better be figuring out their own plan. Now, I know that's sort of ridiculous. And some of these things I discovered as I was assisting a lady on her doctoral thesis on near-death experiences. So this was the caveat. And this happened after this third near-death experience. And I lost everything that I had, everything, and gained everything. gained everything and put me on this path. So all those material things didn't mean anything. No, I'm not saying get rid of your material things. It's the way I did it. Does that make sense? But it led me to all these things. So the funny part of it is when I was looking through and organizing this information on the research she did for her doctoral, and she got it, I was networked her so I could help her, quote, understand. And out of the 12 people that had NDEs, 10 of them didn't want to come back, just like me. But 2 of them couldn't wait to get back. So here's the caveat. Because their belief system was they were going to go to hell.
Right.
And guess where they went?
Yeah, you can imagine.
To hell!
Expectations, yeah, that's right.
So where you leave, and I give this to your audience, take it or leave it, where you leave is where you pick up. So I've assisted many people to make the transition so they let go of all of that stuff. It doesn't mean they can't come back. But where you leave is where you pick up.
So it largely depends on your state of mind at that moment.
Yes, in that moment. So that's why I like to assist people out to be clean. So then they have a choice how to come back, if they choose to come back or not come back ever again and go somewhere else. Because I'm telling you, this whole universe is based on duality. It's based on war. So you've got the Pleiadians fighting the Seraphins or the Arcturians or whatever, doesn't matter, or we're fighting. So everything that we've been taught, I won't say is a lie, but it's not the truth. So what we've been taught is true, but it's not the truth. And it's not that I'm so what, and sometimes people say, well, you can't say that. Yes, I can. It's my truth because I've watched it. I've assisted people. I can talk to, there is no other side. There is no veil. Veil is the ignorance.
So it's not a physical, it's not a physical veil between 2 dimensions or whatever. It's just a veil of belief system.
Yes, and then they say, well, the 5th dimension is this. There's a bazillion dimensions, and you're multidimensional. People say, oh, I'm not multidimensional. Yes, you are. Look at your body. You have a lymphatic system. You have a circulatory system. You have a digestive system. Those are all dimensions within you. And actually, the lymphatic system is the smartest because it cleans out the crap.
Yeah. You wouldn't say that all those systems are part of the physical 3-dimensional dimension.
Exactly, but it's still many dimensions within you.
Right.
Even in the Bible, they call many mansions. They meant dimensions. They didn't have the words for it. So they had to speak in parables. So what is your parable that is not enabling you, but disabling you? So it's not about our DNA. That's a ridiculous program. The intelligence in the body is cellular memory. It's the memorization over it. I came in very clear memory. I came in telling my mother about all sorts of times that I had that I remembered, just described it, like specifically. Well, in that time, it was amazing. So this will make your audience laugh. When I'm 3 years old, I tell my mother, I used to be Jewish and lived in New York. Manhattan is actually one of my favorite cities. And my mother goes, we're Catholic, we live in Detroit.
What does that matter? We're talking about a life before that. Yeah.
Yes, and she didn't get it.
No,
and so
I suppose you wouldn't.
It was too much, and I was hoping that I wouldn't have to have an exorcism or something. So in that experience, that changed my life. And then I came to Arizona with $50 and didn't know anybody in 1997, and said, well, I own $50 now. I'll just start fresh, and I did. And then a few years down the road, I had another NDE thanks to the medical community, but I chose it because I was thinking this is ridiculous. And I went anaphylactic shock. And so I was out again. But these are the funny things. As I went out of body, I was up on the ceiling and I had a choice. There was nobody there anymore. It was just moi. And so my voice is projecting from the ceiling and the doctor is trying to hold me down because my body was quivering from the shock and all that, but I was already out. And all of a sudden my voice from the ceiling said, stop pushing me down. And then my mouth moved. The poor doctor got so scared. He didn't know what was happening. And so, a few hours later, then, I finally, fully got back in my body. And then
so that's interesting because, so what you're saying is that you observed yourself or audibly observed yourself saying this, and then later saw the body move, and that was the mouth move. So that was verified after.
Oh, the doctor was
woke
terrified because he heard the voice coming from up on the ceiling, up here, and then my mouth moved.
So he heard the voice not from your mouth, but from. Right, that's interesting. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because
we're
very multidimensional beings. And then there was another one in this past year of Independence Day, July 4th. I fell. It was 116. I was by myself, and I fell, and I hit my right brain. The other two accidents hit my left brain, which is the male manifest brain. But this time I hit the right brain that goes to the female creative side. This is not gender. It's just, we could call it the whippy zip side. Yeah. It's just a label. It's just a descriptive. So I use descriptives. And so my face swelled. It was a mess. And then I have no idea. I like popped in. I popped out, and then I popped in. And there was blood everywhere. I hit the cement. I was cleaning my pool. And I was absolutely a mess, but it was just instantaneously. They don't know how long. And so I finally made my way to the emergency room, and the doctors, but doctors came, and they said, we don't know why you didn't die. And they said, your face would be a mess for months. It wasn't. I was on Facebook Live the next day, I had a bandage and whatever, but because I know cellular memory over the memorization of the hit, and I started working on it, my face cleared right up.
Yeah, so you were able to consciously push your repair system to push into place. So you were able to take control of yourself.
About it. I can't think. I think. Let's see how.
So you put your awareness actually on that location. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to just describe briefly what the concept of cellular memory actually is? Because I'm not too familiar with it myself.
Exactly, and so I've been teaching this since for 27 years, and that's how I healed myself. So in this accident, I had a broken neck, a smashed head, a brain out of place, and I was in a broken neck, broken back. So I was a mess. So the doctors told me that you're going to be humped over and you're going to live what? And I go, no. And I said there has to be something smarter than taking drugs or this brain. And that's when I figured out cellular memory is the key. The memorization is what I did. The memorization is the disease. The memorization is the DNA. The memorization is the cellular memorization. So I started talking to my cells, because a nose knows to be a nose cell, and this toe cell knows, otherwise we'd have a toe up here. So the body is the intelligence and intellect. Some of the scientists are coming around, and some of the scientists that I work with are, because I'm actually working on the stem cell project right now with a scientist, and will blow the pop stand in partners, investors, because it's so incredible based on what she does and based on what I do in the teaching. So cellular memory is everything you've memorized in your continuum. So I go back to 3, and I'm telling my mother about this life. And actually, years later, I met a writer from New York, and we checked it out, and he found out everything that I talked about when we were friends back in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm. Was a true instance.
Yes, and I've had many of those truth. So truth is duality, truth is consciousness. And so the cellular memorization here's a memorization. My family has it, I'm going to get it. You just set yourself up. The setup. So cellular memory is the key. And when I talked about it, they said I was nuts until they did the transplants. And the first one was the famous one of the champagne and caviar lady who got the heart of a beer butt guzzling, pizza eating, motorcycle night, and she began to love beer and pizza.
Yeah. So that does give credence
I
to it.
knew for sure that what I had been starting to teach way back when in 1991. And I didn't do this for anyone else. Trust me. I did this for me because I was not going to walk around. And then years later, I was studied at the University of Arizona under Dr. Gary Schwartz's group. And after a year of being a lab rat, they came out and said, this is not bragging, this is hilarious. I found this so funny. They said, Sherry, you're a genius. I go, I know. And my brain's out of place. Yay! Because they wanted to know, how did I do that? And my brain's still out of place. I love it. So it's not that I don't love my brain. I do, but it's offline. I'm not
Mm.
being bombarded with all this BS and all these belief systems and all the
Mm.
marketing on how to get sick
Mm.
and how see, we're looking for cures. Wordology. You cure hams and meat. You can't cure people. They have to heal themselves. Isn't that a
Yeah,
good one?
that's good. Yeah.
And
So,
actually, one of my Harvard doctors, he tells that to groups. I got
mm,
this. We call them Sherryisms. So the NDEs, I really was able to expand the resonance. So I'm giving lots of tips, free information here, what I teach. Resonance is the key. Frequency and vibration is a byproduct. Consciousness is the key. Your energy is a byproduct. Belief systems is a key. Your energy is a byproduct. So if you have a belief system that you are an idiot, you're going to go out and tell everybody you're an idiot, but we're not saying it out loud. It just comes out of your body.
mm,
Your body is really doing the talking,
mm.
but we're not taught to listen. We're taught
So,
to hear,
yeah.
but we're not taught to listen. So isn't
So
this the coolest stuff?
it is. It's interesting. Yeah. I suppose
That's why I love
the
working
problem.
with people. And 20% of my clients I've never met. Never.
That's right. Yeah.
I can tell.
It's good. It's
Go
good
ahead.
because you can get viewpoints from so many different places and kind of incorporate them into your own. I suppose the problem with me is because I'm very scientific based. I like to see evidence for this sort of thing. And I'm thinking, if all the cellular memory is within your body, then clearly there's some form of mental activity that can affect it with the use of the placebo effect.
No, well, in some your cellular memory. Do you know what deja vu is?
Hmm. I get it quite often. Yeah.
That's a cellular memory. It's an experience. And some things, in my center, I have mostly, or Asian furniture, Chinese furniture. I've loved it since I was a kid. And so in my continuum, I've had many. So in this lifetime, I've never been homesick. Not once, not one time, never. And I would travel with my parents' friends or whatever, and I was so happy. I go to China 10, 11 years ago. I'm sitting in Beijing, which I absolutely connected to, totally. Been there, done that. And someone said, when are you leaving Beijing? And all of a sudden I said, well, our plane's leaving at 1. I burst out crying. I had the most amazing homesick attack. And I knew it. And so I'm talking to my friends with me who know me, and I'm going, oh, this is terrible. I don't want to go home. Oh my God, I'm having an emotional, because I teach not to be emotional, but to be feeling.
Yeah.
And so I'm observing myself going, I'm having a homesick attack for Beijing. I felt so comfortable there. Now, I'm not talking about communism or anything. I'm talking about like way back when. And I have a lot of antique pieces that I bought over my travels from China. And didn't necessarily get them in China, but it was a comfort zone to me. I felt I belonged.
So could
Not
that
in this
indicate?
lifetime.
Could indicate, as I was going to say, a past lifetime a long time ago, maybe a very
Right.
influential one.
The first time I went to New York City on a business trip, I knew exactly how to get around. I knew exactly the streets. I knew exactly where it's going. I mean, that's not hard to get around, but that's how I felt in Beijing. I felt really comfortable. So that's resonance and that's cellular memory. I think the guy that wrote the book, Many Lives, Many Masters.
Brian Weiss.
But you have to be the master.
Yes.
It's mastering your own self through your consciousness, through your cellular memory, and getting rid of those belief systems, because those are who you're told you are, and those are labels.
I think it's important. I think it's important to consider that every belief system we've ever created has been based only on how limited we are to measure things.
Yes, based on duality, good and bad, high or low. So, so that's the best part. So in these experiences, I have met wonderful people. I don't call them beings or ETs or whatever. I've never had a bad experience, but I have worked with abductees who didn't. And we were able to release it, because you can't change the past. And too many people live in the past. I even teach about time, how it works and whatever. So I love that. get to work with clients over the phone, over Zoom, whatever. But it's just delightful to free people from their limitations that they have been taught, whether it was on purpose or whether it was taught because of fear of not belonging.
That's right, yeah. And I think that's a lot of the cases like that with religion as well. The idea of heaven and hell and all that has put such a fear into people that then when they have these near-death experiences, they're having experiences of their fears based on what they've told them they are. So if they don't believe in Jesus Christ or whatever, they think, crap, I'm going to go to hell. When they have the near-death experience, it's exactly what they experience. Now, some would argue, of course, that that's just suggestion causing this as a hallucination in a hypoxia-ridden brain or something. So that's an interesting question. How can we tell then that these near-death experiences that people experience are something more than just suggestion causing hallucinations in the physical brain?
But they're not. Your body has a full body. I'm going to use this example, and this is not about near death, but I'm going to use this example. I've worked with many people that have been sexually abused, and they've spent years and years and years of head therapy. Now, I'm not wronging head therapy, but all they're doing in the computer brain is re-traumatizing. That's called PTSD, whatever. But when I'm working with them, it's getting it out of their body, because you can't change the past. And so the experience happens to the body, not just the brain. The brain cannot figure it out because it's a computer and it gets overloaded. But the body has the cellular experience. And so when I've worked with other NDEers, we are able to sort out the information in form at ion or cellular level. So then it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then I don't know why we do it. I don't believe in conjecture. I'm all based on science and facts. And so when I've worked with some of the NDEers to get rid of the trauma, or that they're being punished, or they committed a sin, actually sin is the name of a Sumerian god. He was a bad boy, but I liked him.
He was a rebel.
That's good. So we have to look at what is the language of our near-death experience.
Yeah, what's the nature of it? Yeah.
And what's the nature? And mine was always looking for more information, finding out how can I discern the difference between true and truth. And I had magnificent near-death experiences. But remember, I created them, and we create all of this. But in the beginning, I was looking for the way out. As I said, why do people do these things? And who was I to question? But I did. Because question was my cells, my ion, my cellular was questioning, this doesn't even make any sense to me. When I was in school and the teacher said Columbus discovered America, and I raised my hand, I was really little, and said, well, how come there were people living there? And he gave me the best advice. It stuck, and I was little. He said, just memorize it and pass the test. And that's when I knew it was an institution to institutionalize me. And I didn't have the computer or any of that. I started doing research myself.
When we say
read all the books I wasn't supposed to read.
All the kind of things that are outside mainstream. Yeah, I think the reason they say Columbus discovered America and all that nonsense is because he was the one that gave it a name and made it more available to everybody else. But that's not a discovery for him, because as you say, other people were living there. They just hadn't named it or hadn't made it widely available. But it was always there.
And the thing is, when they discovered black holes, this was years ago, I was at a conference for physicists, and they said, it's Event Horizon. I said, you know what, to me, and I laughed, and this physicist got mad at me, and now it's come out. I said, a black hole is like a toilet. What goes down must come up. And now they have discovered this last couple of years that things are coming out of the black hole. It's just a portal. It's just whatever you want to call it. So in this universe, everything is dual. It goes one way or it goes the other.
Everything has polar opposites. Yeah.
So it's not righting it or wronging it. But personally, like I said, when people said, if you didn't have the medical community, how would you die? And I said, of boredom, because duality is so boring. And I would be an avid history reader as a kid, and still am. Like, why? You can't change what until you get to the why. You have to know the why. It's the fork in the road. Are you going to continue to fork yourself, or are you going to go on and continue educating yourself with facts? That's the
and proper education, not education as they're defined these days.
Yes.
Yeah,
That you repeat a belief system. I'm not going to do that.
And then the thing is, anything that comes up, which I think is where near-death experiences really are always explained somehow, is because if something then comes up that doesn't fit with that belief system, you're going to biasly then try and make that fit, whichever way it's possible. And if you can't, it's going to be, it's just an illusion or whatever. And a lot of people can't kind of comprehend that maybe we're wrong about this. Let's look at it in a different way.
Oh God, and we can't be wrong. We have to hold on to those belief systems of being right. Look at the word illusion. Us as a collective. You're a collective. You are an us at your ion level. Isn't that beautiful? Illusion is starts out with ill.
Yes. Yeah, it's quite fitting, really, isn't it?
The disease, you dissing yourself. So that's why I look at language, and I've worked with individuals that didn't even speak their language, and we had an interpreter, and we still were able to get to the core, the origination point of their issue in this lifetime, or the origination point, because it's all going on in your body. There is no past lives. It's a continuum of information stored in your body that you could call it as deja vu, or whatever you call it, or recall. Your body, so when you leave, there I think it's like 13 grams or whatever it is, they don't know what that is. That's you. That's all your information you take back. And that's why people have, and as a young kid, way back in the olden days, I had these clear memories. And so now in adult life, I go to Manhattan, I know exactly how to get around. But the interesting part, I would go to this one area that was really hot during the 1930s. You know, it was the architecture. I can't think of the word of it now, but I resonated to that area. Like I know that area, and it was very comfortable, and I felt at home.
Cellular
but
memory.
I also felt at home in Beijing. And people coming up to me and asking me, "Are you Chinese? Or have you been here before?" And they're taking pictures. They're tourists with me instead of my blonde friends. You think they would be taking? No, they're taking pictures with me. So I know I'm in some families.
So you were experiencing memories from two previous lives from two different places. So do you think then that all the experiences we have, well, physical before transition into the spiritual life, whatever comes next, do you think all those memories that are stored within our brain, apparently, which I don't know, do you think that information,
in the body.
Do you think that information then is kind of backed up somewhere to be accessed by the next body?
Yeah, it goes with you. It's who you are. It's those grams that leave. It's all of that. I mean, if you look at our computer chip, it's like so teeny weeny now. Look at all the information. I even tell people where their Akashic records are. I teach a quantum class. It just so people that you can see all this stuff, but we have been programmed that you can't see. I call it realize with real eyes. Yeah.
So the period then, from what I understand, when we die, we don't instantly then get reincarnated against our will. There's a period in between that. Have you ever read Michael Newton's books?
Not necessarily. I actually know of a client, and she's a friend of mine also. She's going to have her grandfather. And he died a year and a half ago. And now she's pregnant. It's a boy.
Oh, right, I see.
But it's not about gender.
No,
but I communicate with them. I even wrote an article for a famous doctor called Baby's First Connection. If you email me, I'll be happy to share it with you. It's been published. And it was published in a newsletter of a very famous doctor. Because the doctor said, you communicate with babies, and you cannot believe the things they've told me. It's not just my intuition, but I could not know some of that stuff. It's too specific to their family, like really specific. Not like, I think you're going to be famous. It's specific information.
Yeah. All the typical high street psychic stuff. You're going to begin with the letter M or G or F or L, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
So if consciousness is kind of if our state of mind at the end of life determines what our experiences are as per near-death experiences, then would it follow that if we have the desire to do something after death non-physically, then we don't necessarily instantly come back into a new physical body, but go off into a different area?
Yeah, you
Spirit
are
world
still,
or whatever.
You're still you, whoever that you is. You're still you with all that information. And then I teach people how to get rid of contracts and make agreements, because we have contractual agreements. So, as a student and what you're doing, I have a lot of psychologists that are my clients, because they're looking to enhance or support their patients in a new way. So functional medicine doctors recommend to me, they actually come to me because we're all people. It's not what we do, that's just whatever, but it's who we are. And that's the part I love to assist people to discover who they are, because they're already here. So when people ask me, what's my purpose? I go, which one? My purpose, one of my purposes this morning is to go get my Starbucks. This is a famous sherry drink at my Starbucks. I wish I owned it, but this is a sherry drink, and everybody there knows how to make it. I just go out and I talk to them. And by the way, most of them that work there are millennials, and I love them, or Gen Xers, or Gen Zs, really. And so this was my purpose this morning. I had to run out and go to the bank. And so that was one of my purposes. So when people say, well, isn't your purpose to enlighten the world? Yes. How do you enlighten someone? It's dark, and then you turn on the light. It's called information. And people say, well, you're light work. You're not a light work. You don't have to work. Light is information. So I'm giving in this interview all kinds of fabulous tools. Do I love to support people? Absolutely, to heal themselves. Do I love to support people and assist them? Yes. That's why I do this 24/10. I love it. That's why I write. That's why I started this new book. This latest is Take Back Your Power, You Becoming You. 2 years ago, I published a book called The Intelligence Code. 14 of my clients wrote the book. They wrote the book. I asked to interview, and there's CEOs in there, there's a hairdresser in there, there's doctors in there, there's a chiropractor in there, there is a gal that was retiring out of the corporate world. So it's how they took the tools. I just provide tools. Take it or leave it.
That's it, yeah. And it's down to you to then interpret them tools.
Yes. If you want to call them ideas, I'm very practical. I have no, and from these NDEs, I have no woo-woo in me at all. Never did. Give me the facts. That there is so much more in the multiverse than there ever could be in this duality universe. Isn't that the point?
So it is, yeah. Going back to the whole idea of the lady who was going to give birth to her grandfather. So if we all have these contracts, and I say, Michael Newton's books, I've read them, they're very interesting, Life Between Lives. So if she was giving birth to the grandfather, I assume during the period from when the grandfather physically died to when he was impregnated in this woman again, he must have then gone off and made another contract for that following life.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. What I teach people is how to make agreements. Agreements are pliable, flexible, mutable, but when you have a contract, man, it is signed, sealed, and delivered. So I teach people how to cancel the contracts. And that doesn't mean you're throwing people out of your lives. Like, I have no contracts with anybody, but I have wonderful agreements. And it's not a matter of semantics. It's a matter of consciousness. It's a matter of energy as the byproduct. It's a matter of interaction. And it's wonderful to live this way instead of existing. It doesn't mean it's not challenging. You still have to pay your bills. You still have to do that.
You still got to apply to the physical laws. Yeah, they still exist, unfortunately.
That's duality. But, here's an example of money. They said money is the root of all evil. Well, that's ridiculous. Money wasn't even invented back then. It bartered. And then the people that were rich, like Romans or Greeks, they had to put their kisser on a piece of metal, and then it became money. Do you see how?
That's it. Yeah.
So what my movement is to liberate your life. But my other movement is to be an involved, conscious, evolutionary revolutionary. Is that cool or what?
That's good. Yeah, I imagine that'd be a good set of letters to have after your name, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so it's
Well,
evolved,
better than
conscious,
PhD.
evolutionary, revolutionary. So maybe I'll put those behind my name. So I just love, and I thank you for this opportunity to share this.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on. It's very interesting.
We've got to get conscious. We can't do another belief system. It is
No.
so appalling.
Yeah, and this is why I want Seeking Eye to do well, because, as I say, I look at everything on a very scientific standpoint, and of course it's difficult for me to believe what you say because I haven't had that experience, and I can only go by logical whatever. But the difference is I'm open to believe it until I try it and it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then I try something else. It's the same thing with out-of-body experiences. You know, I'm trying to achieve an out-of-body experience with Robert Monroe's Gateway Experience CDs. Now, a lot of people,
but
if you say to them,
I teach people how to remote view better than the military.
Yeah, that's another one. Like, what's his name? Joseph McMonigal, people like that.
But I do that. I teach that my quantum class is how to remote view. I do it all the time. And it's
problem is if you tell
body, it's better than astral projecting because you know exactly where your body is.
Yes, that's true. The problem is if you tell this sort of thing to the mainstream researchers or whatever, they'll say, no, it's not true because this, it's not possible because this. Do they actually go and try it to have the experience themselves? Not usually.
I bilocate all the time, and I can tell my clients. That's how I know. I had a client call me last week, and I didn't know her name, didn't know where she's from. You can't tell by an area code. And within the first 3 minutes, I said, "This is where your issues are in your body." She's a nurse. And she said, I didn't know, and she said, "Oh my God." So of course, then she came to see me. She came from California. She said, "There's no way you could know that." I said, "Well, I'm there with you. I'm in your body already." She goes, "But you don't know my name. I haven't told you." I go, honestly, people are so easy to quote, read, or connect to. So that's the connection. So I love Florence Nightingale because she didn't have a microscope. She didn't have the scientific research, but she knew if she cleaned up that operating theater, that instead of mixing everybody's blood and throwing people, if she cleaned it up, that the soldiers would survive the raid.
She knew intuitively, yeah.
So that's all I've been doing all my life. That's why I love Florence Nightingale. So, but I have a lot of physicist friends, scientists, doctors, and that they know. They always tell me I'm the best kept secret in the world, and you get it. So that's my goal, is to go global and teach this globally, because it doesn't matter what the belief systems are or where we are. There's a guy, and I can't remember his name, but he learned how to control the hops, and this is Germany. So they could have had beer blasts or Lowenbrau festivals sooner. And because of the time frame and the belief systems and the fear, he was burned at the stake because his batches were consistent. And then I think it was like 100 years later, somebody found his recipe, and now we're changing. So I just say, how far up can you put your head up your ass?
To try and prove something that you believe to be the case, which may not be, and very likely is not.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's only in the eyes of whoever is, quote, the winner. But nobody wins. No one wins in duality because of this. Had it, lost it, I'm a perfect example of it. Had lost it, whatever. Or the idea in those research papers that I read. And 2 of the people couldn't wait to get back because they went to hell. I never went to hell. I was looking for knowledge. So guess who I meet? I meet all these fabulous people that said, here, why would you, because I'd say, I don't like the idea of living in this limitation. And duality is limitation.
I wonder as well, on occasion, why it is that some people, and I've seen it on, over here we've got the Daily Mail, which is the only website I really use because it has comments on it. All the others, for some reason, you have to pay to get them. I don't know, this nonsense. But I saw one on there a few months ago that said this bloke died, came back, shared his experience, and said absolutely nothing happened. I was there 1 minute and I wasn't the next, or he experienced just nothingness, complete nothingness. So I wonder why it is the case then that some of these experiences are of nothingness that then goes on and determines, right, well then we know what happens at death, nothing. And yet others have these other experiences.
Their idea might be the belief system that there is nothing after this. Who knows? You have to look at their belief system. I'm looking at consciousness or belief system.
Yeah.
So but if consciousness, I was going to be crippled and a mess and all that, do I look like a crippled and a mess?
Not really, no.
Not really. And so that started the journey of cellular. I go, there have to be something smarter in this body than this computer brain, because this brain ain't so smart.
So, yeah, but then I wonder, if consciousness is the base of everything else, surely then when we die we experience the same or similar things in terms of a continuation. Whatever the content of that continuation be, we all experience continuation. So in that sense, why then did this person experience nothing? Because if consciousness is foundation, he should have at least experienced something.
But maybe
just not what he would have
felt in his belief system that he was nothing and didn't have any value or worth.
So then what would his experience be at actual death?
It's whatever his belief system is. Remember I told you those two guys couldn't wait to come back because their belief system was they were going to go to hell. That's where they went. Somebody's
so
belief
that person
system is you're going to go down a tunnel. When I finally do get off this planet, there's going to be a reporter there going, she won't go down the tunnel.
So this person,
her idea is to get on the spaceship. She's not going down the tunnel.
So this one person would then actually cease to exist forever.
Not really.
But if that's his belief system, and he experienced nothing
because
during his near-death experience,
you really don't die. It is life everlasting. Is a form of some sort of a form. So it might be his fear that he couldn't experience something. I'll give you a perfect example. People that are abused, women especially, but men also, they keep getting abused over and over and over again because they have no value or worth. So they have a belief system that's all they're worthy of, is being punished, being beaten. So they have no value for themselves.
Yeah.
So he might
again,
have
that comes
no
back to
value
the,
for himself or whoever it is.
Yeah, and again, that would come back to the law of attraction as well. So if you're projecting that self-view, that's going to impact on your life.
If you are resonating to a victim, you will attract victimizers. And I call that the law of distraction. Duality is a distraction.
It is a distraction away from your actual nature.
Exactly. You hit it. So that is the perfect part of this interview. Duality takes you away from your, because it's all head-based, figuring it out. So what is science? What is science?
Real science is, as far as I see it, is the process of trying to discover new things based on experiences and measurements and everything else. But unfortunately, what it seems to have become is finding evidence and explaining why it matches the current understanding, not that it's a possibility of another understanding just because it doesn't make sense at the moment.
Yes, comprehension. Like, I was talking to a physicist years ago, and when he said, we discovered black holes, and I said, I don't want to burst your bubble, dear, but the black holes have always been there. You just got the equipment. Wait till you get the equipment when you see it coming back out. And he goes, Sherry, how could you say that? That's heresy. I'm a physicist. Congratulations. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for giving us this information. I love it. But wait till you find out that it's just like a toilet bowl. It's going to come back out. And about a year and a half ago, they have found that things are coming out of the black hole. So, and
that's you got quasars, haven't you? Which are black holes with matter shot at phenomenal speeds.
Yes, and so the problem I have was I love research. I am science-based. Show me the money. I'm talking about proof. Show me the proof. But we can't make them a fact if they're not even a factoid. So it's like it's just like Florence Nightingale. Let's clean this up and see what happens. She didn't have a microscope. She used her intuition. And that's what I use. My intuition. Yeah. That is my gut feeling.
And it very rarely sends you wrong.
Not thinky. Got it? I trust my body completely.
I think with modern science as well, it's all down to the person that's receiving the evidence and how they're interpreting it. Like, the whole thing of the brain creating or not creating consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness, how it does it. See, so all the evidence is, well, if you damage the brain, you affect consciousness, so therefore it must be, or if you put general anaesthesia on, it affects consciousness, so therefore you can say, yeah, but you can take that data and interpret it a different way, so, but it still says exactly the same thing, and in my opinion explains more. So if it receives consciousness, which is what I believe, if you damage it, the consciousness isn't going to be changed. The content of the consciousness is going to be changed, as Rupert Spira says. Like if you've got a signal in a radio, you hit the radio hard with a hammer, it's going to change the way it sounds, but the consciousness is still there. So the way we perceive it changes, yeah. So the way we perceive the world changes, but that's not because necessarily your body creates that consciousness, but it's just the way it interprets it changes. And of course, if you damage something that's perfect to do it, it's going to make it less so.
I don't know, my brain's out of place. I'm doing pretty good.
Exactly, yeah.
Because my intelligence and intellect is in my body, my cell, of all the experiences, and that just opened it up. But I love my brain. But now, and you know what else came out of that test? They said, you have the most incredibly balanced left brain, right brain. I said, I know, because I'm off the grid. I'm not going to take in a belief system, but I love research. I love facts.
You got the perfect balance, and that's what life is about, isn't it? Balance.
Yes, being centered in self instead of self-centered. So that's why I love teaching what I do. I love it. So I know we've gone along. You know, I'm trusting that this inspired you, or not. I'm not attached to any outcome, but I love results. And that's why I love teaching. That's why I love working with individuals. That's why I love supporting them. And when they've had their dire diagnosis, that's just somebody's opinion.
That's right. I mean, how many times has a doctor said, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Later on, it's turned out to be, that's not what's happened. So, you know, we don't know what we think we know. We know what we can guess. And that's about as far as it can go.
Feel. This is a guess. This is the thinky. So I teach people how not to think. I have a client last March or April. She was in the hospital, and they called me in, and then she was going to die, and that she had to, you know, make her last will and testimony. And so I'm going to show you a hand signal. So I went to the hospital and said, "Do you believe that?" See my hand signal?
Yeah.
What? Do you believe that? Next day she was out of the hospital. She's working on a project for me.
Because I suppose if you believe that you're going to get better, despite saying that you're not, if you believe you're going to get better, that has a lot more influence than we think.
Exactly.
And we can see that by the placebo and everything else as well.
Somebody's death. That is ridiculous. And then the medical community gave her a flu shot and almost killed her. And so the ramifications. And so the second time, she said, "You saved my life the second time." I said, "Yes, because I pulled your head out of your belief systems." And I said, "And do not take anything else until we know what it is, and don't do that." So anybody that you couldn't give me one of those shots. I know what's in it. So here she is. She's supposed to be dead. So when I went in there and she's in there, I said, "Well, read my hand signals." Laughter's the best medicine. And guess what she did?
Oh, yes, it is.
She's in the bed dying, and she started laughing. I go, "All right, now we're going to get busy."
Good.
Let's get into that perfect cellular memory and get well. Isn't that hilarious?
It is. And that does show that there is a lot more to it than current medical science understands.
Yes. And I love doctors because I work with them, and the ones that trust me implicitly. One of the most famous leading oncologists in the world is one of my clients, and you know, he has a testimonial, and he's been here, and I've worked with his family, and because he said, "You're onto something." Well, I've been on it for like 27 years. So I so appreciate having this discussion with you. And I'm trusting that it will benefit those who see it. So near-death experiences, we're all self-created. They're not created to punish you. They're created to enhance you. It's how you see it. Realize with realize. But if you look at it through a limited belief system, then it could be a punishment, or you did a sin, or it's the escape module. It's the escape clause in the contract. So it doesn't always work.
So it really is what you believe will happen after death is what will happen after death.
Exactly.
With no limitations.
So I always say, just visualize or just pretend. Soon as you leave, you end up in a Starbucks somewhere with your legal pad and you start writing a new contract, but make agreements.
Yeah. Well, when I die, I'm gonna have a nice period of rest and relaxation. Don't know, might play out a Disney movie or something gentle.
Yes,
go flying with Dumbo. That'd be nice.
In my life, and I'm just going to share one more. This is about belief systems. So years ago, when I was 30, my idea was to fly an airplane. So I told my mother and sister. My sister's quite a bit older, and she said, "Oh, you're too old, and you're a girl, and you can't do this." So I didn't listen to them, thank God. So not only did I fly airplanes, I bought one. And they said, "How did you buy an airplane? How do you buy a car? How do you buy a TV?
With
If
money.
you don't have all the money,
Yeah.
you give the bank X amount, and then they send you this thing, and you send a check every month. That's what you do." And then I started producing air shows. I spoke at the Pentagon. I created Women in Aviation Room with another group. I belonged to the 99s. So I did all this stuff because I didn't say no. But did I know I was going to do all those things? No. I could set intentions, but that wasn't even intent. All I like to do is just get me up in the air, and that's when I was the most grounded. As soon as that plane took off, I'm going, yay!
It's a sense of freedom, isn't it?
I'm free.
I mean, I'm terrified of flying commercially. I hate the idea.
Oh, I love it.
But I've flown a little Cessna 172 propeller plane, and if I'm in control, yeah, I love it.
Okay,
Which
so
I
I'm going to
suppose
give you one more thing, and then I've got to go because I've got a client. So control is the con of the troll. So be in charge of your life. When you're in charge, it comes from here. When you're in control, it's the computer brain. Don't let that little troll con you. So people say I have a voice in the back of the head, throw it out. It's probably not yours anyway. That's the computer brain.
It's an interesting thought, yeah.
Isn't this cool?
Okay.
So did we have fun?
We did, yeah. Well, I did. Hope you did as well.
I did.
Hope
So
you found
I
some value in it.
One final thing. So this is, I have Sherryisms. I got them all over the place. Oh, here I have a card here. This is
A wall
I
of
have a bunch of
Sherryisms.
them. These are called Sherryisms. So here's one. Say what I say. Say it. What I
Yeah.
say
So say what I say
makes my day,
makes my day,
and what I say
and what I say
can make or break someone else's day.
can make or break someone else's day, and that is very true indeed.
Isn't that the truth? So that's the truth. But the true is say the right thing or do the right. I don't know what the right thing is. It's the correct. Is it correct? But isn't that a good one?
It is, and you've got to feel what's correct. You can't go by someone's telling you what is correct, because their correct might be totally different.
And it's practical. I don't like chocolate. It makes me sick, gives me a headache. So before I'd have to go in the story, or I would eat chocolate dessert and I'd be sick for 3 days. Now I just say, I don't have to make the story. I don't have to tell the story. I don't have to suck anybody in to my trial. All I say is, oh my God, look at all the chocolate. You're going to get more. And that's it. Before I would eat it and I'd be sick. Or I'd say, well, I can't eat chocolate because it does this. And I go into this boring story. That's why when they put that thing on Facebook, how would you die if you didn't have, I die of boredom, because duality is incredibly boring. So when people come and say, I have a really unique issue, which one is it? How unique is it? How far is your belief system up your patootie? I don't know. Let's see. So laughter is the best medicine.
It is, and I believe that strongly as well. Good state of mind is a good state of body.
Yes, and my favorite thing to do is rattle molecules. So if I rattle your molecules so you can get connected to yourself, I'm thrilled.
Great. Okay, so do we want to finish just by letting people know where they can find you and essentially what services you provide?
I'm in Arizona, Mountain Standard Time, part of the year. My website, and we're actually getting ready to do it again. Oh boy, it's Sherry, Sherry at Sherry, Sherry. Anshara, Anshara. Oh, that's my.
That's your email address.
SherryAnshara.com is my email. Sherry Anshara is my website. And by the way, I have 2 Facebook Lives. On Tuesday at 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, I have conversations with Sherry Anshara. and it's a private group, and you don't pay, but I will work with someone for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes to get to a core issue. And we do it through Be Live TV, wherever anyone is. So if they would like to join conversations with Sherry and Shara. And then the other is Thursday night at 5 o'clock. I do a Facebook Live, and I will have a guest on it, or I will just impart some wisdom. That's why I call those 12 beings I met with the wise guys. So I use a lot of humor, but it's to get to the core. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think your phone's ringing.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody will get it for me. And so that's actually my client, so I gotta go. But anyway, so that's how you get a hold of me. And my phone number in the States is 480-609-0874. 480-609-0874. And thank you so much. It was delightful.
Great, yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm sure a lot of people will learn a lot, especially if they keep their minds open and don't close off with belief systems. That's the only way.
And
Otherwise, you miss.
And we will talk again.
Certainly, absolutely, yeah.
And congratulations for being a wonderful light being, a purposeful person. I love the millennials because you guys are open and willing, guys or gals, whatever. It's non-gender. That you're willing. So I thank you very much for this time.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sherry. I appreciate you coming on. We will have to do it again. Maybe we'll talk a bit more on the nature of consciousness and everything else, because that is something that really does interest me.
It interests me too.
Specifically, I'm sure it interests a lot of people.
I'm sure. So let's change this world and everybody take their head out of their belief systems and get united in allness.